And remember, the West would have never known at all about the CCP virus from the Wuhan lab if it had not been for the whistleblower movement in the new federal state, right? You essentially saved mankind for something that could have been far worse. That was the new federal state and the whistleblower movement. But I want to quote from President Xi's address in Tiananmen Square, right, on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese Communist Party. And I quote, "A century ago, at the time of the founding, the Communist Party of China had just 50 members. 50 members. 100 years ago, 50 members. On the founding of the new federal state and the whistleblower movement, there were tens and hundreds of thousands. And now there's millions, or tens of millions. Think about it. The whistleblower movement is so much more powerful at its inception than the Chinese Communist Party, this group of criminals, right? And think about what has it done in its 1 year of birth that the CCP did? The CCP for the longest time, for 10 and 20 years, was literally nothing, right? Very small, and had no impact really on overall China life. The whistleblower movement, the new federal state, has had an impact on world history in the most important thing facing the world, which is the CCP virus. We wouldn't have known virtually anything that happened in the Wuhan lab, or anything that was CCP, or Miles Guo's warning to the American people and to the West about Taiwan, what's coming now. And by the way, he called it weeks ago exactly what was going to be in this document, about we'll either crush Taiwan if they try to do independence, they don't have a choice. And he said that's where war's coming. If you look at the exact analogy of history of the CCP versus the new federal state, there's no even comparison. And if you see the founding documents of the new federal state, compare that to the greatest thinkers of the American Revolution. What it offers the Chinese people and the world as an alternative to the most murderous dictatorship in mankind's history that has killed and murdered 500 million innocent Chinese have been murdered by the Chinese Communist Party with basically the acquisition of the West. The West, the governments and the elites in Davos don't care. CNN said on CNN's coverage, it said, hey, in the 100-year anniversary, the CCP's great, but she's the star. That was their headline. She's the star, a murderous dictator. On the Uyghurs and the Tibetan Buddhists and the underground house Christians and the live organ harvesting in Hong Kong, of which they say in here, oh, Hong Kong's totally autonomous. Lie after lie after lie. And if you look at the same point in history and the impact for the good of mankind that the new federal state and the whistleblower movement for all mankind have had, there's no comparison. Tens of millions of people would have died if the whistleblower movement and the new federal state hadn't stood up and told the world, in a world that didn't want to listen because they said, hey, our business leaders tell us the CCP's fine. Our political leaders tell us the CCP's fine. The NBA, the fighter, the movie star John Cena, he says, oh, the CCP are good guys. They're not a problem. All of Hollywood, all of Silicon Valley, all of Wall Street, all of corporate America, all of Davos, all the city of London, they all say CCP's fine. We're making money with them. What's your problem? We don't care if the Uyghurs are in concentration camps. We don't care if the Chinese people are enslaved. That's not our problem. That's their problem. The whistleblower movement in the new federal state of China, basically, the Chinese people, when they're free, have had a bigger impact on world history than any other people in the world today. And it's only in its first year. That's why they fear the new federal state. That's why they fear the whistleblower movement. That's why they fear Getter. That's why they fear Miles Guo and everybody right crazy Miles Guo. It is, you can taste and smell the fear because they understand their day is done. They're from the past. And that horrific embarrassment of the great civilization of the Chinese people, and to be like nothing more than a bigger Korea, North Korea, it's an obscenity. The Chinese people, with their history and culture and civilization and decency, and to have that display of worship. She puts himself as a god on earth, right? A god to be worshipped by robots and automatons and people who cannot think free and do not have any connection with God. And that's what they've destroyed. That's what he stripped the Chinese people. That ceremony will be looked at 100 years from now by the Chinese, say this was disgusting, and these people were disgusting that made our great people do it. And history is going to hold them accountable. Because Xi wants to take over from Mao, another murderous dictator, the Cultural Revolution, the famine, and all of it, all the murders, all the rapes, all the disease, of the environment, and that's what's held up. And Wall Street kowtows to it, and Hollywood kowtows to it, and Silicon Valley kowtows to it. All the money in the world kowtows to it. You know why? Because it gets us to make more money. That day is over. And it's the new federal state and the whistleblower movement at the vanguard of that.